How do I sum up this album?
It ain't right. Oh, it ain't right.
Well, that's a bit simple, but that will work. Hi people, and hello my Chili Con Carnage crew, it's Chili here for the 5-minute review on Smashing Pumpkins' newest album, Autumn, Part 2. Don't forget, live streams are on every Friday, so make sure to check that out. It's probably a bit rough to say this album ain't right. I mean, unlike the previous effort, I enjoyed it on the initial playthrough without the aid of whiskey, despite the first minute of the first track, Avalanche, sounding very plain and looking like it was heading in a direction I wouldn't enjoy. I guess you could chalk that up to being a break between acts from the previous efforts to now, so pass the playbill and the popcorn and let's get into this. The second track, Empires, did make me think that my prayers were finally answered, with the loud crunching of guitars rocking this song and dusting off the cobwebs of old, but to be honest, if you're expecting a return to that 90s sound, then you will be disappointed. I'm sorry to say this, as this song and Beguiled are perhaps the two songs that are most akin to that era of the band. To return to the opening song, The Avalanche, the song has a bit of a Cure influence as the guitar tone uses a slight delay effect. This, coupled with the keyboards brooding in the background and the reliance of synth drums, is an interesting mix, and I do enjoy it actually. A lot of tracks are spacious and atmospheric in sound, usually building up each track with a few layers. I'll admit the song Moss is a curveball that is quite intriguing, as it teeters on almost shoegaze territory, with the bass plotting a slow rhythmic line that is entrapping, but the drums take it away from this style to give it a more grandiose feel. Tracks like The Culling build up before taking a minimalistic approach, cutting back to, say, a lone guitar played out alongside the keys before the drums join in, and also apply the same method with only a light peppering of toms and snares. It's really quite beautiful and a rather impactful track, I think, that follows up Beguiled. The backing vocals from Katie Cole and Sierra Swan, who have been touring with the band since 2015, are also more prevalent here, and I didn't really notice it on the first act, but I guess it is amplified by the more somber and quiet moments on this record, and there are quite a few. Thinking back on my previous review, I think I let out all of my anger and frustration, and knowing that this is not going to be stylistically in a similar tone to their previous works, as previously promised, is akin to discarding an anchor. Now, I'm not saying this is a flawless masterpiece, in fact far from it, but it's not a terrible album either. I think maybe choosing Beguiled as the lead single was perhaps the best choice so far, and at the same time, the worst. What I mean by this is it set a precedent for how we thought the album would sound, and upon playing through it and finding a different beast, it became a letdown. Most of the tracks on the two albums have been so far from the style of that track that it feels a bit disappointing to hear a few songs in a row that contain minimalistic distorted guitar effects. But if the band released any other song, then fans may have written off the album altogether. With the choice of Beguiled, it was like the band were pandering to the old crowd, but I can't imagine having to choose one song to reflect your upcoming album, to be judged by your legions and picked apart by music critics.
You maniacs! You blew it up! Oh, damn you! God damn you all to hell!
I would imagine that this album can seem somewhat disorientating, and given its staggered release date, I think it compounds, especially that Autumn is a tale of 3 acts. I feel like I'm listening to a Bob Ross painting that is incomplete, but is clearer now than before, and I hope the payoff will be worth it in the end, because the anticipation is certainly building. There are a few tracks that I didn't like, such as Neophyte and its repetitive use of that ain't right lyric, and it just seems to go on for about 2 verses too many. And the track Space Age contains some weird synth effects that sound like water drops being sampled and pitch shifted. Also, To the Grey is a bit meh. To me, this record is a fine addition to the mix, and I would be interested to hear my fellow Smashing Pumpkin fans as to what they have to say about this record. If I'm correct, I think some might say its experimental elements might come across in a boring or negative light, and I can understand that. It's certainly a fast step from the past. Overall, I will rate this album at 6 million chilies on the spicy scale, with my favourite tracks being Avalanche, Empires, Beguiled, and The Culling. You know, for a while I was trying to figure out why I enjoyed this album so much. And I think the reason why I enjoyed it to the extent that I did was because of how much it sounded so close to the album Oceania. I hope that you have enjoyed this episode of 5 Minute Reviews. Make sure you do the socials, check us out, subscribe if you can, or at least pay someone a bunch of money so that they can get thousands of bots to subscribe to my channel. As always, people, you have a great day, and stay spicy. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Live Listen Erased. And if you have enjoyed this episode, make sure you share it with all your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our Chili Con Carnage crew so you can get notified for all the future videos that we put out, as we put out videos every Friday. Also, we are on Discord, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter over at Live Listen Erased, so make sure to tune in over there. And don't forget to like this video so that our manager can stay very happy.